Welcome to Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of the Nonprofit Technology Conference 2015, hosted by NTEN, the Nonprofit Technology Network. We're in Austin, Texas at the Convention Center, and my guests are Beth Kanter, Master Trainer, Author, and Blogger at bethkanter.org, and also Ritu Sharma, Co-founder and Executive Director of Social Media for Nonprofits. Their workshop topic is Walking is Work. Don't call it a break. Beth, Ritu, welcome.
Welcome. Great
Thank you.
And welcome back, Beth. Beth has been on the show before.
Yes.
Ritu is new. Welcome.
First time. Thank you very
I'm
much.
glad you're with us. Ritu, why should we be paying attention to walking?
From my perspective, I'm an accidental walker.
Okay.
I think
cool.
100 times better. I started walking more extensively as part of my work. I've always been a walker. But as part of my work, I started about 7 months ago. And it was accidental because I got a new puppy, and the puppy needed to be walked every 3 hours.
All right.
That's how it started.
Very practical.
It was a very practical decision. But as I started walking, I needed to take some calls, and then I started taking some of those calls on my walks. And I found that I was paying a lot more attention in those calls. I was not distracted by a number of social media pings and emails and other people intruding in those conversations. I was really more present. And then the other thing that I noticed, which is what started us making a lot more content at Social Media for Nonprofits, is I started having a lot of ideas about different topics to write about, different opinions on current topics, and that got me kick-started as Walking is Work.
All right. And Beth, we shouldn't, if we haven't fallen into it, luckily, accidentally, the way Ritu did, we actually should be deliberate about it. And we have some research to back that up.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I got into it actually right after the last time I was on, almost 2 years ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
I went into my doctor and I got my cholesterol tested. And, we're getting there. We have to get our cholesterol tested.
Yeah.
And it was $3.99.
You had cholesterol of 399?
Right.
Stay closer to the mic. You get too excited.
Oh, okay.
You had cholesterol of 399?
Right. And healthy is 150 or less, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to get walking. Obviously I was not eating too many cheeseburgers, and I was sitting at my desk, and I could see that, the health effects.
Yeah.
So I bought one of these, a health Fitbit, and I got out there and I started walking and writing about it. And before I knew it, I was walking 20,000 steps per day. And it became this little game. How could I work it into
20,000 is like double isn't the average 10,000?
Yeah, 10,000. I'm up to now 10 miles a day.
You're walking 10 miles a day?
Yeah. And
All right.
what happened? My cholesterol went down to 99, my triglycerides, but something else happened.
Yes.
I noticed I was more present, I could pay attention, and I was happier and more creativity. And so what would happen is I got really excited about this, and I've been blogging about it, I've been doing workshops, I've been kind of this evangelist for walking as work, because people would say to me, how do you fit this into your day? And the mindset is really about walking, it's the separate thing. It's for exercise. It's for the health benefits.
Yes.
But really, I think it's key to your productivity.
We know something about walking versus sitting while we're working, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Go ahead, share.
Well, think about how much time you spend sitting at work. The average person spends 9.3 hours sitting.
Wow.
That's more than we sleep, which is 7.7 hours. And you know what all that sitting is doing to our bodies and our minds?
It's physically, I guess it's collapsing our spines.
It's collapsing our spines. It's causing colon cancer. It's causing heart disease, brain fog, neck problems, muscle degeneration. It's enough to make you want to stand up at your desk, head to the door, and never come back to your office. But you don't have to do that. You just need to start to think about ways to integrate movement into your work.
Okay.
Maybe it's, first of all, changing your mindset. It's thinking about different ways that you can start adding more steps, more walking. Park the car farthest away from the door in the parking lot.
We're going to get to all that. We have plenty of time together. We're still at the motivation stage.
Okay, the motivation.
All right. So obviously health. Ritu, say more about the creativity. I know that was really important to you.
I think when we are in closed spaces and spaces that we're normally sitting at 9-10 hours a day, our mind gets closed almost. It only sees what we have in front of us. So it becomes very reactive. It's just reacting to emails that are coming in, phone calls that are coming in, and putting off fires. When you get out of that setting and you walk in the nature, you walk in the grass, you walk in the parking lot, doesn't matter where you walk, when you start moving a little bit, your brain starts to disengage from a reactive mode to a much more proactive and creative mode. And what I've noticed for me is some of these things come to me that are like brilliant pieces.
That's great.
It's incredible. I wrote a couple blog posts that we had the most traction ever, and I was just walking the dog
Wait, you
down
had
the
the
street.
what? You had the what?
Most traction.
Most traction.
Ever
Okay.
in our work, and those entire pieces were conceived while walking. I just the idea hit it, and I started fleshing it while I was walking it, and I came back, cranked it out in 20 minutes, and we've seen most likes, shares, comments, and really some great pieces that have come out of walking. So from a creative standpoint, I find the reason behind that is that you get a distance, and you're not constantly just addressing a pressing problem anymore. You're able to actually give your mind a little bit of break to process all the stimulation, all the stimuli and activities, and all the information that we are exposed to, in fact, overexposed to. We have a time to process it. We have a time to just put it in different places where it belongs, and then start to see greater trends and start to see how this piece fits with some of the other stuff we've done. And if you're in a reactive in front of your computer mode, you just don't have that creative space to process that information.
Your time is constantly belongs to other people as email comes in, and as much as we're supposed to, I know a good practice for email is only react to it a set number of hours a day or set times a day, but that's very, very hard to do, and you end up being all fragmented and distracted constantly.
Exactly. And other thing
It's
is
hard
we
to get
all
a flow going.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, we also
Yeah.
have these phones that are full of notifications. Any ping you get, any
Right.
tweet you get, any text message you get, all the emails. There are these things that we are chained to now. Technology, while it can be a great, great accelerator, it can also hold you back and hold you in chains because you're
Right.
constantly attached on your hip.
Yeah, go ahead, Beth.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say this sort of gets us away from the topic about walking as work, but what the walking does physiologically in your
No,
brain
this
is
is
it
good.
fires synapses. So if you were to look at, there's actually researchers that are looking at the impact of movement on the brain. And so if you look at a brain of a person who's been sitting for 20 minutes, it's all dark. Okay?
Oh,
And
cool.
if you look at a person's brain, doing a brain scan, after a 20-minute vigorous walk, it's all lit up. Because the endorphins are flowing, the connections are being made, and then we hear, the proof of it from what Ritu was talking
Yeah.
about. And that's also been proven in a number of studies. I think the most famous one has come from Stanford, where they actually studied, they measured creativity of people who took walks, a brisk walk at lunch, and creativity improved.
And just to make this explicit, we're talking about walks without your phone, or it's turned off. Maybe you're not allowing the distractions of your mobile device while you're walking.
Unless you use it to take notes.
Okay, take note. But that's you. All right, that's
Yeah.
you inputting.
Yeah.
But Ritu, I mean, it sounds like you're saying, we're trying to eliminate these distractions and also be vigorous in activity.
That's true. And when you're walking, it's kind of hard to be as attached to a phone
Okay.
without tripping or knowing where you're going. So I usually just have it handy with me should there be an emergency that really needs me. But unless it's an emergency, I actually have it handy if I need to answer a call or something. But for the most part, it's hard to be that attached as you are in an office.
I see people in New York City giving it a go, though.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
walking and lots of walking
Right.
and texting. But that's not what we're talking about here.
No, I
No.
think what we're talking about here is turn off the
Yeah.
darn device and
Yes,
go
no.
for a walk.
Damn is
clear
okay.
your head.
Yeah, damn is okay. Yeah.
Clear your head.
Don't go further than that.
Yeah, I won't. I won't.
Beth is notorious for the F word on nonprofit radio. A long time ago, but
Well, it's
the
important.
memories linger.
World leaders. Obama is really famous for taking walks. Steve Jobs, and there's a rich history of walking as work. I mean, think about like Charles Dickens. Did you know that he walked 20 miles a day?
20 miles a day?
Yeah, he
No,
hated
I
being
didn't know
tethered
that.
to a desk.
No.
And do you know Freud?
No.
Okay, Freud,
Walker?
an analyst, they sit and their patient lies on the couch, but he was famous for walking with his patients to get to breakthroughs.
I know a famous stander, always stood at his desk, was Donald Rumsfeld. He did not have a traditional desk. He stood as he worked. Now, I don't do politics on nonprofit radio, so maybe that's a counterexample. We don't have to cite it either way, but I know he stood, and that's something that you were suggesting, that you can stand and work, aside from walking, but standing versus sitting.
Yes, standing desk. And,
Yeah.
other research has come in. It used to be, okay, go to the gym. You know, I go to the gym so I can sit on my backside for 8 hours and I won't suffer those harmful health effects. But you know what? It doesn't matter whether you're at the top of your game physically. You still can reap the harmful effects of sitting. So what some researchers recommend, and this comes from the Mayo Clinic, is the 28-2. So every 20 minutes, if you sit, you work, you concentrate, you get up and you stand for 8 minutes and 2 minutes stretching.
Oh, really?
And the idea, the mind shift is that
Half-hour increments.
you sit to rest your body from standing.
Ah, okay. Rather than sitting being the
Yes.
focus of the day.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Ritu, go ahead. You sound like
I
you
think
want to add
sometimes
something.
it can be hard to follow structures like that. One that I think is very worthy, and I use it in a different way. If you are starting out and you attend our session tomorrow, or you're here today and you're inspired to do that, what I would recommend doing is doing something that I've done is Pomodoro method. It really allows you to set these intervals. If you just rely on your own free will to help you do this, sometimes it can be hard to create habits. They take about 90 days to form habits for something to really gel into your daily lifestyle change at the very least. So what you may want to do is look at things like Pomodoro method, and you can design that. For me, it's every 25 minutes of sitting, I get a 5-minute break, and then after 2 or 3 of those, I get a 20-minute walk, and that actually forces you, and it's incredible.
And you're doing this in your day-to-day work.
Day to day,
You're
I have an
doing it,
iPad.
yeah. Beth, you too. This is
Oh,
integrated.
absolutely.
This is part of your day.
Well, I do it. Yes, it is, and
Yeah.
I do it slightly differently. I not only measure my time in increments, but I also measure my energy and my ability to concentrate. And I try to design my schedule so the tasks fit my ability to concentrate, and always working in these smaller chunks. I do
Okay.
things like I do a slightly different method of Pomodoro. I've experimented with Pomodoro for a couple of years, but there's
Now,
workplace Pomodoro.
We call it Pomodoro?
Yes,
like
it's tomato.
The tomato in
Yeah.
Italian?
Tomato.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
the reason it's called this because it came with an old tomato timer.
Yeah,
And so and
those
actually,
kitchen timers?
yeah, you set it
Okay.
for 25 minutes. And
Okay.
originally the context for it is that if you're overloaded like this, you're going to suffer consequences of procrastination and work avoidance. So Pomodoro is a method for you to like eat that frog in the morning and just start,
Yeah,
get something
okay.
done.
Ritu, go ahead. You were sharing.
No, I
Where-
really enjoy that because what I do is I get to something, I take a project for 20-25 minutes, and then even if I'm in the middle of doing this, I take a 5-minute break and I actually either stretch or I do push-ups or I just do a plank and I try to increase my duration for that. And then that's sort of every 2 or 3 iterations, and then I go and take a walk. And I will tell you that in the last year of doing that, the days that I do Pomodoro method very religiously are the days that I can get in one day over 2 weeks worth of work, and I've tested it several times now, where it's incredible amount of work.
Wait. In one day, you feel you can do the same as you would have in
That's amazing.
in the dark days in 2 weeks?
Yes, including I even fit some laundry and folding some laundry in
2
between.
weeks in a day.
Yes. There's a lot of reading time.
Okay.
The thing, what I found is there's a lot of closure. I want to do things that I make a big list before I take on a Pomodoro day, actually.
Yeah.
I make a huge list of things that I need to absolutely get done, that's my weekly list. And I've tested it several times. Normally, I will be able to hit 3 or 4 or 5 of those because there's so many reactive things. But when I'm in the Pomodoro method mode, I basically check things off the forced break, no matter where you are in the process, it really prevents you from going into procrastination, from reading one
Right.
blog post that takes you into another blog post, that takes you into yet another blog post, and that takes you to Facebook and then to Twitter. That doesn't happen on Pomodoro, for me at least.
Okay.
So I would just recommend experiment with finding whatever is right for you, not just method that works for me, but what works for you, and use some technology to help you get in the mode.
Right.
Don't just rely on free will to follow this.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Beth.
And Pomodoro's, it's really not about like trying to get everything done and ticking it off your to-do list, but really it's about focus and training your attention. As somebody who has been doing the technology for 20 years or more, I was like that dog in Up, Doug, squirrel.
Yeah.
So I consciously, this is about 7 or 8 years ago, like trained my attention, like I have an ongoing dialogue with myself. Am I opening up another tab? Am I following another social thread? And is this the task or something I should be doing?
I should be doing. Is this
Right.
the best use of my time in this
right.
moment? Yeah.
Right. The 18 minutes a day method with David Berkowitz.
Can you? I don't know it. Can you summarize it?
Sure. You spent, this will change your life. It changed mine. And
Okay.
it's the only reason I finished my second book.
Okay. I love life changers.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's 5 minutes in the morning. You write down what are the 2 or 3 things that you need to have done. What are your priorities? And you reflect at 5 minutes at the end of the day. Did I get to my priorities? And then throughout the day, every hour on the hour, you beep yourself to remind yourself, am I on task?
Okay.
And you would think it's counterintuitive that you're beeping yourself and you're distracting yourself. Would you get
But
distracted?
you're bringing yourself to a center.
To a center.
The center of the focus for that day.
Exactly.
A couple of
And
focuses.
then if you do that over a period of time, it really, according to Covey, takes, 21 days to make a habit, then you've internalized it. And then it stops beeping and you're focused.
And this helped you finish your second book?
Yes.
Okay. The two of you have great outcome stories. Really terrific impact. I love. We still have some more time together. What have we not shared? Did we cover getting yourself out of the culture of sitting through the Pomodoro method, or a variation of that? Is there more around
Well, what we
getting
talked
yourself
about.
started with this?
Okay, so if we divide this topic into the I and the we. So I think we have covered the, what do I have control of in my work life that I can change.
Okay.
Okay, but many of us work in organizations and with other people, and we work in a culture where there's lots of meetings.
Sure.
And
yeah.
the culture around those meetings is to sit.
Yes. All right.
So that's the challenge.
Okay. We'd like to have walking meetings.
Yes.
Okay. And now you're doing this tomorrow at 12:30, and we're going to talk more about what we'll bring it back to the office setting. I haven't forgotten, but just tell us what you're doing tomorrow at 12:30. Go ahead, Ritu.
We have a session tomorrow at 10:30 to 12 where we're going to talk about walking as work when we'll lay out the framework. And then we're going to take a big walk around 12:30 with a number of conference attendees and give them an experience of discussing a specific topic while they're on a walk with a large group. So they get to actually experience how to have a meeting while they're walking.
Outstanding. Do you know what the topic is, or are you going to decide it in the session?
For the
topic for the walking conversation.
For the 10:30 meeting, they're going to be talking about planning a walking meeting.
Okay.
And our meetup, it'll be open.
It's
so
open.
We'll let people choose what they want to do.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so let's bring it back to the office now.
Okay.
How can we help the sitting meeting culture to get out of that?
Well, it's interesting because sometimes, first of all, I think there needs to be some education around the links to workplace productivity and workplace wellness.
All right.
And that, it isn't a break. It really is important to productivity.
Yes. This is not a break. That's your topic.
Right. It's
walking
not,
is work.
Exactly.
Don't call it a break.
Right. It's not
okay.
it's not going to the gym, and it's not goofing off.
Okay.
Okay. You're really getting work done. So the next thing is to think about what are all the meetings in your life, and think about what can be done as a meeting, a walking meeting. And it's probably best to start with a one-on-one meeting, maybe a weekly meeting with your supervisor, or somebody who reports to you, and suggest that you bring your sneakers to work and you do that meeting as a walking meeting. And maybe institute as a standing meeting. If you're going to do a meeting with more people, it requires a little bit more planning than a regular meeting. In addition to the agenda, the purpose, any pre-reading, you have to think about what your route is. And you have to time the route. You have to be prepared if there's bad weather. We're going to walk inside.
Yeah.
You have to let people know to bring the right shoes or their coats if it's going to be cold. And then you have to sort of make some modifications in the way that you take notes. People are, maybe this meeting is one where you're discussing something and the only thing you need to take down is the decisions, as opposed to being in a meeting where you need to be looking at a lot of papers and a lot of information.
Yeah, and tasking people and specificity.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can take notes, you can remember those things called pens and paper.
I've heard of them, yes.
A moleskin.
We can also, now is it violating anything if I, suppose I get tasked with something in our walk and I have my phone and I do a voice note to myself? Is that okay?
Yes. We suggest it.
A little side convo, just for myself.
Right.
Okay, so I can.
Well, one good thing to do in a walking meeting with a group is not to spend the whole meeting walking and discussing. Like, you always have a little space of time at the end of the meeting to summarize what the deliverables are, and maybe you do that when you get back into the conference room.
Okay.
Okay. And do that for note taking. And people are fresh. The endorphins have been flowing, and they'll remember them. And another way to get started, it's a little bit easier than the walking meeting, is a standing meeting.
Okay, we'll take this in increments maybe.
Yes.
Depending on the culture and how willing your supervisors are to participate and your colleagues. Maybe we have to do it incrementally.
Yes.
All right, standing, maybe sitting half and then standing half.
Well,
and
crawl,
then
walk,
sitting
run, fly.
full. Yes, all right. Ritu, anything?
Sure, I'd say that take it slow, take it according to your culture, and find different ways to do it. And there's one common criticism I hear when we talk about walking as work, is well, we have so many things, we can't get it done. It's like when you're taking this on, start slow. Start with 1 or 2 meetings and see how you're doing. Don't try to enforce a really big culture change, from the beginning. Do little things. Hey, do you mind when we do these meetings if we do the first portion of introductions and check-ins, and when we are reporting in what our week was like and what we are doing, do that maybe in a walking session and come back and take some notes as Beth just recommended in coming back. So find those. The other couple things I would say that I've personally done that have been really helpful in coming with from a change of culture in our organization is my default for all meetings is walking meeting now. If you want time with me, it's a walking meeting, unless there is a compelling reason where it can't be. So my default is no longer, let's sit down for coffee at Starbucks. My default is, hey, there's a park next to my office. Do you want to meet there and let's talk? And if somebody has an objection, like, well, how are we going to take notes? Again, I go back to now Beth's famous line, have you heard of those little old things called pens?
And a little pocket moleskin. Yeah. The other thing I'd say too, in the way I work with it, it's, walking meetings are a subset of overall good meeting practice. And I would also talk to the leadership and ask, don't you want more effective meetings in your organization? What if you were able to replace ineffective meetings that waste people's time with meetings that are highly productive and that make people feel great and get even more work done in less time? Wouldn't you want to do that?
And shouldn't we at least try it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let's at least try it and see.
Let's at least try.
Okay. Okay. We got a couple more minutes. What have I not asked you yet about this that you want to share? We got a couple more minutes left.
If I can share one quick thing, the second thing that I do besides defaulting to walking meetings is I do not take any phone call unless it's absolutely necessary sitting down. And that's a very easy switch to make, to just grab a phone and start pacing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing that for years. Because I'm a kinesthetic learner, so to me it just helps me. If I move, I think better, and I found that if I'm when I wasn't standing for phone calls, I'm sitting at my desk checking my email and getting distracted. So standing, walking, and also I think I want to emphasize to people, I got started with this web stuff in the early 90s, and I had RSI by the 1995. Repetitive stress injury. Right. And one of the things I learned there was about stretching and taking this break, that it's really important. And sometimes we get so addicted, and we use our computer keyboard as a lunch tray. And we don't get up because we think, we're not getting work done. So the one thing I would leave people with is really think about what you're doing to your body and what you're doing to your mind, and don't think of it as wasted time. And trust us, you'll be more productive and you'll be happier.
Absolutely.
Okay. Productivity, creativity.
Good health.
Good health.
Reduced cholesterol substantially. It's all excellent. All right. Ritu, anything you want to wrap up with?
No, just thank you for the opportunity and happy walking, everyone.
Yes.
All right. Let's get out there and do it. Ritu Sharma is co-founder and executive director of social media for nonprofits, and Beth Kanter, master trainer, author, and blogger. Walking is work. Don't call it a break. You're listening to and joining with Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of the Nonprofit Technology Conference 2015. Thank you so much for being with us. Ladies, thank you.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Pleasure.